today are GWIC staff, Ravina Ugale, our program manager, Takara Askew, our program coordinator, and my associate director, Yoon Kim, for helping to organize today's lecture. Let me introduce our speaker so that we can get right to his presentation. Mr. Tae Yong-ho is the Secretary General of the Peaceful Unification Advisory Council of South Korea. He also previously served in the South Korean National Assembly, the previous National Assembly from 2020 to 2024. In addition, he has advised the South Korean government in a variety of capacities on unification. Previously, he served the North Korean government as a diplomat, and his last assignment was the #2 in the North Korean embassy to the United Kingdom in London. He is probably well known to many of you as one of the highest level defectors from North Korea in recent years. Recently, his memoir, which was published in Korean several years ago, has also been published in English, and many of my students have to read it this semester. But his book, in the English title, is Passcode to the Third Floor. And in it, he shares his experiences working for the North Korean government, as well as more recently for the South Korean government. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Tae Yong-ho today.
Hello, thank you for inviting me to this George Washington University. And it is always a great pleasure, to meet many audiences whenever I travel to Washington. I travel a lot, but when I speak about North Korean issues, the other, the capitals or cities, usually the number of audiences around 20 or 30 at most. But when I come to Washington and talk about North Korea, I always find out that there is a great audience. So I think I should, travel to Washington more often. As I was introduced, I used to be the deputy North Korean ambassador to United Kingdom, and I defected to South Korea in the summer of 2016 together with my family. I'm married and I have 2 sons, and fortunately, I came to South Korea with my 2 sons. There are around 12 or 15 former North Korean diplomats in South Korea, but around former North Korean diplomats now, half of them are open and active in South Korea, but the rest of the former North Korean defected diplomats are not so active because they left at least one of their children back in North Korea. So they are a little bit afraid of they being, be punished by children in North Korea. In North Korea, if you are a diplomat and if you are posted to foreign countries, the regime asks you to leave at least one of your children back in Pyongyang as a kind of, hostage. So this is one of the way for North Korean regime to control their diplomats overseas. But I was very lucky because when I posted to London in 2013, my first son at that time was in Kim Il-sung University. So that's why I couldn't take my first son out to London. So I only arrived London with my wife and my second son, and my second son went to London Acton High School. But in 2014, miracle happened because Kim Jong-un started to intensify and accelerate his pace of developing nuclear weapons. So more and more sanctions started to tighten North Korea. So many North Korean students, especially in European universities, were expelled or the scholarships were canceled. And most of European countries started to ban the students' visa to North Korean students. So North Korean university students can only go to study either in Russia or China, those former communist states. So in 2014, Kim Jong-un, he was educated in Switzerland. That's why he knows the importance of education, especially sending North Korean students to Europe to learn more advanced technologies to develop his nuclear weapons and missiles. But there was a ban of student visas. So he all of a sudden said that why not sending the children of diplomats to European countries in order to let them study in European educational systems. So how it could happen, for instance, my son's case is that my family was in London. So if your parents are in London, you can apply a family visit for 6 months. So my son applied a family visit visa for 6 months and was issued a visiting visa. So he was able to come to London. And during his 6 months of stay in London, he went to English, the education centers, and was lucky to pass a British IELTS test. It's something like America's, TOEFL, or you know. Uh, so once he got this IELTS test passed, and he applied the uh, the students, in Hammersmith College, and the university said yes. So with that, with the approval of the university and the IELTS test, he flew all the way back to Pyongyang again and applied students visa to British Embassy in Pyongyang. And British Embassy Pyongyang reviewed those sanction lists, and there is no any clause in the sanction that the children of North Korean diplomats cannot go to university. So British Embassy in Pyongyang issued a student's visa to my first son. So he was able to fly from Pyongyang all the way back to London again. And from that moment, when my son came to us through Heathrow Airport, all of a sudden, my wife, grabbed my hand and said that, honey, we will not go back to Pyongyang anymore. So I said, are you crazy? What are you saying? My wife said that, now, my son, my son is supposed to be in Pyongyang, but now he is in London Heathrow Airport. So this is the miracle given by the God. If we do not use this opportunity and to take our sons back to Pyongyang, we would be damned, in our whole life. So she said that I would not go back. If you want to go back to Pyongyang, you can go alone, but not my sons. So later on, from that time on, we family discussed whether we should defect or go back. And at the final, conclusion, I decided that if I do not cut, the chain of slavery at my generations and take my sons back to Pyongyang, then, my sons, even my grandsons, would continue the same slavery life me. So that's why we decided to come to South Korea in December of 2016, thanks to the help of the God. And now this is my 8th year in South Korea. In the past 8 years, a lot of unexpected things happened in my life. First of all, in 2020, I got the selection from my party to run the office in the Gangnam district. Actually, that district is one of the strong, the district for conservative, people like my party. Now my party is People Power Party. And when I got that nomination, I ran the office and I was succeeded to be the member of 21st National Assembly. It was very significant to, the development, not only for my life, but also for the reunification cause as well, because in the history of Korea's division, there was no North Korean background man uh, was elected in local constituency. There were uh, member of National Assembly before me, but it was proportional, the member. But I was the first one to get the vote to be elected in the National Assembly. But unfortunately, in the last general election, I moved my constituency to Democrats' dominant area, and I lost. So in last April, I lost my election, but I was not disappointed because I think this is the way to deliver the message of a democracy to North Korea. Because in democratic society, there is areas which supports conservative and which supports, the liberal, progressive, the area, and it is a democracy. Sometimes the succeed in election, or sometimes you fail. So I think I'm not disappointed of my lost in the election. And in uh, July of this year, something uh, which is very new started, to evolve. Uh, all of a sudden, the presidential office, started to review all my, past personal profiles, whatever. So I said, what is it? Why they are reviewing all my profiles? And all of a sudden, President Yoon appointed me as a general secretary of Peaceful Unification Advisory Council. It is a very significant appointment because in the past of 70 years division between North and South, no North Korean background in South Korea was ever appointed to the level of a vice minister. So it is the first time that the man like me with North Korean, civil service background was appointed as a kind of, a vice minister in South Korean governments. So in the past, South Korean governments all the South Korean administrations continue to deliver to North Korea that according to South Korean constitution, North Korean citizens are also the South Korean citizens as well according to constitution. But no president in South Korea so far made any kind of nominations or appointments with the North Korean background. President Yoon Suk-yeol is the first one who was bold enough to appoint, the North Korean background, the people like me, so that South Korean government could more easily deliver a message to North Korean population that they are also the natural citizen of South Korea according to our constitution. So this is my general brief introduction about background, and I'm going to tell about the recent, the unification policy made by Yoon Suk-yeol, the president uh, of South Korea, and what's going on inside North Korea, and why now, at this moment, South Korea forwarded the new unification policy, and what is the difference between the current unification policy and those of the previous presidents. It's not moving. Or I have to move. So first of all, I'll just explain what is the South Korean government's new unification policy. This is just a general outline of the policy. There are three visions at the first, on the page. A nation based on freedom and safety and pursuit of happiness, or strong, prosperous nation through creativity and innovation, and nation contributing to global peace and prosperity. That means that three visions of unified Korea. And it is the first time in South Korean government's history that the government presented the future vision of unified Korea. Then here comes the question, why? Why in the previous governments did not present this kind of, vision of unified the Korea? That is because whenever there was any kind of engagement of talk between the North and South in the past, the both sides say about reunification. Okay, reunification is very good for Korean nation, but what kind of reunification? What would be the picture of unified Korea? There was a great, the difference, because North Korea preferred a communist or socialist style of unification, while South Korea preferred free and democratic, the society. So there is a great the difference. So that's why North and South Korea, whenever there were any kind of talks or engagements, both sides decided to raise any kind of visions of unified Korea. They just say unification is something in the long distance, but let's start to do something practical in order to reach that long distance. So usually this part are not presented in the previous South Korean governments. But now it's the first time for the South Korean government to say that the unified Korea in the future must be a country like this. Then here comes the question, why now? Why previous governments did not present these ideas? That is because, from the late of last year, North Korean regime, Kim Jong-un, decided to change the inter-Korean relations into relations of hostile to state. It is the first time that the head of North Korea say that North and South should remain as two states. Nobody, no presidents in South Korea or no, heads of state in North Korea said that. Kim Il-sung or Kim Jong-il, they all said that unification is something, Korean nation, no matter whether you are in North or South, must reach. Yeah, but Kim Jong-un said, no. We stay as a two states permanently. No reunification anymore. So that's why now it is the time for South Korean government that we should present to North Korea that actually we need a reunified country like this. So it's the first presentation of the picture of unified. The second one is that there are three stages. Three stages, the most important and controversial issue in South Korea now is this one, for North Korea. They say that promoting North Korean people's aspirations for unification based on freedom. So far, no previous South Korean government or presidents ever say about North Korean people. Because in the past, whenever there was a process of dialogue or engagement between the North and South, South Korean government's policy wants to make a change inside North Korea through engaging with North Korean regime. If North Korean regime want any kind of humanitarian assistance, okay, we will give you fertilizer and rice in order to improve North Korean normal or general citizens. If North Korea says, oh, please give us a loan, then yes, we will give you loan. So always in the past, so far, South Korean government and presidents always tried to to make a change inside North Korea through North Korean regime. But in this strategy, from now on, South Korean, the government want to reach North Korean people and citizens directly, not through Kim Jong-un regime. Because Kim Jong, if any word of reunification or national reconciliation, whatever, is on the table, North Korean side will not come back to the table because they want to stay as a two-state. So that's why it is now very important time for South Korean government to raise publicly that if Kim Jong-un is not interested in engagement with the South Korean government and not interested in reunification issues, then South Korean government would go directly to North Korean populations to influence Kim Jong-un regime. So this is now in South Korea. This is a very controversial issue, whether it is a time or whether it is possible to reach North Korean population to make any change. So that is the main point which I want to make presentation. So from the start, why now South Korean government will say it is possible? What's going on inside North Korea in the past 10 years? First, economically, there has been a great economic changes inside North Korea in the past 20 years. You know, in late of 1990s, the Adios March, what is called inside North Korea, I mean, Adios March started in North Korea. Adios March means in a word, that means that ration system of North Korea collapsed in late of 1990s. Before the late of 1990s, all North Korean citizens were dependent on the food ration. So no matter you have a job or not, if you have a job, then you were entitled to have 700 grams of rice per day. If you are unemployment, if you do not have a job, then you are given 400 grams of rice by the state. So there is a food center in every village, and from day one to day from 1st to the 30th of each month, each family has a kind of day to get that the rice from the rice center. So for instance, if my family's day is 25th of each month, then on that day my mother would go with the sacks and stay, and then they pour all the rices according to the number of my family. But from 1995, this ration system all of a sudden collapsed. So the people are divided into three categories. The first one, the civil officers like me, army officers like me, the diplomats, party cadres, we got the ration from the state. But the rest of the people, nearly 70 or 80% of the population didn't get any ration from the state. So the people who did not get any ration from the state started to divide into two categories. One category of the people was so naive that they believed the propaganda of the party. At that time, the Kim Jong-il and the party said that this difficulty was temporary one. So even though today the rice distribution center, ration center is empty, but tomorrow or 1 month later, the rice would arrive. So please believe in the party and the leader. So many people waited. Okay, I'm hungry, but sometime tomorrow, maybe the rice would arrive. So people waited. And those people died. So that's why one of the reasons why the great starvation, there was great famine and starvation happened in late of 1990s. But the second group of the people, they think that even though the leader and the party newspaper say that wait, they didn't believe that propaganda. So they started to go to free markets, They started to sell something they have, started to buy, started to smuggle something from China. So all of a sudden, from late of 90s, inside North Korea, a kind of natural capitalist market started to emerge. But that market in late of 1980s and the beginning of 2000s are called the markets of grasshoppers. The markets of grasshoppers. Can you imagine why this markets were called markets of grasshoppers? Anybody can answer? Yeah, why?
The grasshoppers are free to jump from one place to another.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You see, look at this picture. Now, even though they are selling something, they are always in standby to run away very quickly. So, the people around here, they are watching whether policemen were coming or not. And they say, if the police was coming, they say, oh, police is coming. And all of a sudden they, ran away. So these markets are called markets of grasshoppers because at that time the regime said that why you don't believe in the party. The party said that rice will arrive at the ration center. Why you do these capitalist marketing? So they start to rest and they take their old things out. So these markets were called grasshoppers. But from the middle of 2000s, this market of grasshoppers evolved into markets of ticks. Can you see the difference between this market and that market? What is the major difference? By the picture.
Stay in one place.
I beg pardon?
They stay in one place?
Stay in one place, yes.
The tick.
The tick is staying in one place. They are ready to run away. Do you think, are they ready to run away? Yes, they started to resist. When the police came and tell them, yes, please move, don't do that, they say, why not? Because there is no rice in the ration center. Why do we have to, run or go? Because we want to sell something in order to feed our children. So there is a great resistance throughout the North Korea. Then what is the current case inside North? Now, this is the present national, the markets throughout North Korea. Now it is the approved, the markets worldwide. Now there are around 400 capitalist, the free markets throughout North Korea. So at this moment, even though Kim Jong-un regime tries very hard to root out these capitalist free markets, I don't think that he would succeed. No matter what he does, he couldn't do it. The next one is I want to tell about the financial structure of North Korea. Usually, when this arduous march started and went on, the North Korean economy stopped and could not run very well. Most of people's livings were dependent on the free markets. So that's why North Korean regime started to print out, the notes randomly. So the civil servants like me, every month we received quite a new printed money. Every month, North Korea printed out huge lot of, the money. And because of huge high inflation in 2009, North Korea all of a sudden, without any pre-notice, waged the currency reform and killed and burned all the old North Korean currency. And from that time on, North Korean people started to believe that this new note of North Korean currency would disappear again in the near future. So from 2009 until now, all North Korean families now are accumulating their assets in US dollar, not North Korean, the army. So if you want to bribe somebody, you can't bribe North Korean officials with North Korean currency. Nobody accepts bribing North Korean currency. They only accept US dollar. Yes, maybe if you give Benjamin Franklin, that could be the best choice. So can you imagine what is among these US dollar notes, what would be the most precious US dollar notes in North Korea? Which one? Which note? 100. George Washington. $1. $1 note is the most precious and important note in North Korea. Why? Do you understand why? Because I told you that each market of people's, the assets are accumulated in US dollar, but somebody want to buy only 25 US dollar or want to sell only 28. But many people need this $1 as a kind of exchange. So that is one of the reasons there is a big, balloon war between North and South these days. North Korea now continues to send, balloons of, the garbages, while South Korea, defective organizations send the balloons with this one note to North Korea. Yeah, so the more North Korean people get this one note US dollar, the more active North Korean, the free markets go on. Now, politically, how much North Korean people now support this continuation of dynasty. The recent survey by South Korean, the government said that more than half of North Korean population are saying no more to, the dynasty. So I'm sure that the current North Korean, this hereditary dynasty, the system would stop at Kim Jong-un. I don't believe that this dynasty system would continue to the fourth generation. Now, I tell about Hallyu. This is the statistics of how much North Koreans have these, deficits. For instance, most important thing is the cell phone and DVDs. Now, 36.4 North Korean people now have these cell phones. Of course, their cell phones are different, from cell phones we have. They are not connected to the internet, but even though they are not connected to the internet, now North Korean people, there are around 7 million North Korean people have these cell phones. But once they have cell phones, they are addicted and they can't live without these cell phones. And with these cell phones, they can, spread and get vast informations inside North Korea among them. And also CD and DVD player. DVD now 73.6 North Korean families have these DVD players. So these infrastructures now made it possible that South Korean Hallyu wave, South Korean cultural wave, can arrive North Korea and can be circulated secretly through North Korea. So when North Korean people and young generations are started to watch this South Korean, cultural contents, TVs and dramas, all of a sudden they started to have dreams. Yes. When I was in North Korea, I always, tried very hard to control my kids, not watch South Korean movies or dramas, because there were notebooks and desktops tops in my family. But I learned that my sons do not use these desktops for their study, but do either games or watch South Korean movies. And in the past, North Korean regime was very successful to control the flow of informations because, when I went to university and when I entered foreign ministry in 1988, there was no any single desktop in my foreign ministry. I didn't see any computers in my foreign ministry, but from the late of 1990s, computers started to arrive, and all of a sudden there was a great, the wave of computers. So from the beginning of 2000, all of a sudden, North Korea decided computer education as a kind of compulsory education for high schools. And once computer education started in high schools, it started to shake North Korean students' identity. For instance, in lesson 1, the history teacher came in and taught their students that America is a sworn enemy. And second lesson two, science teacher came in and he taught computers about Microsoft and Bill Gates and how this computer good. So all of a sudden, North Korean students were a little bit confused because lesson one, the teacher said America is evil and sworn enemy. Lesson two, scientists said what is Microsoft and how computer works. So how can evil can produce this kind of new system? Yes. So from 2000s, there was a great change of North Korean young generations of the mentality. And when North Korea have the cell phones, computers, and notebooks, the Hallyu started to be smuggled in. Now, inside North Korea, the students in 20s and young generations in 30s, they are all mad at South Korean, the cultural contents, K-pops, whatever. I still myself, I'm 62, but I myself do not understand K-pop. I don't understand why inside North Korea or young generations, they always walk in the streets with their earphones, always go like, I don't understand, you see. But my son's generation in North Korea, they all listen to and watch, the South Korean memes. But the generations, my generations, did not see this could be a new threat to the future of North Korea. The first guy who found out that the arrival of Hallyu could be a threat to North Korean society is who? You. Yeah? It's Kim Jong-un. Oh. Kim Jong-un, now he is in 42 years old. So actually, Kim Jong-un and his brother and his sister Kim Yo-jong, they are the ones in 30s and 40s, and they were, they graduated the Swiss school. They stayed in Switzerland, so that's why they knew the importance of this cultural content. I don't know how many of you read my book. I escorted Kim Jong-chol's brother, Kim Jong-un's brother, Kim Jong-chol, to Eric Clapton's, concert in London. And just to watch that Eric Clapton concert, Kim Jong-chol, the brother of Kim Jong-un, stayed in London for 3 days. He was mania of Eric Clapton. I don't understand Eric Clapton, So Kim Jong-un and Kim Jong-chol and Kim Yo-jong, they all understand, the Hallyu wave and the South Korean cultural content. So something happened. When North Korean young students watch South Korean Hallyus or whatever, then a kind of new start of cultural changes started to happen in North Korea. For instance, before Hallyu, the young students or young generations cannot, take hands in North Korean streets. They cannot embrace each other. They cannot even kiss each other in public. Of course, they can kiss in their own remote areas. So all of a sudden, a kind of new, young generations start to emerge inside North Korea. And they are very much influenced by Hallyu. So even their outspoken and their physical, the performance are quite different what my generation used to be. So I want to show one of North Korean TVs, how North Korean young generation react to South Korean cultural wave. How can I?
With the mouse.
Yes, it is in North Korean dialect, but there is English translation. So you can see the recent cultural changes.
장소도 가리지 않고 눈을 끌어안고 돌아치는 신랑 신부의 모습들은 어떻게 돼서 숱한 사람들이 모여들고 지나다니며 또 지켜보는 대중 장소들에서 저렇듯 아무런 부끄러움이나 거리낌도 없이 노골적으로 추잡하게 놀아댈 수 있단 말입니까? 이것은 명백히 우리 인민의 아름답고 고상한 미풍양석과 경영적이며 건전한 사회주의 생활 기품을 심히 모독하는 추태라고밖에는 달리 볼 수 없습니다. 그래 당신들은 어디서 무엇을 보고 이러한 동작들을 스스럼없이 요구하고 선색 없이 수행해내고 있습니까? 혹시 남몰리 불순 출판 선전물을 열성껏 시청하면서 떠오른 영감과 느낀 충동을 이 기획이 재간껏 펼쳐보이려는 것은 아닌지, 심각한 것은 지난 시기에도 일부 청년들이 결혼식을 하면서 이와 같이 우리의 생활 양식에 맞지 않게 놀아댄 현상들에 대해 조직적으로 투쟁도 벌이고 사회적으로 폭로 비판도 하면서 각성시켰지만 오늘에 와서 그 성격과 양상의 도수가 정도 이상으로 넘어섰다는 데 있습니다. 그들의 차림새를 봐서는 도무지 공화국 국민인지 가늠하기 힘든 정도인데 이들의 짓거리를 지켜본 그 숱한 사람들 속에 눈이 바로 박힌 사람이 단 한 명도 없었단 말입니까? 바로 이렇게 지금 사회적으로 자기주의에서 나타나는 이러한 비정상적인 현상들에 대해 강 건너 불보듯 방관시하면서 대중적인 투쟁의 불을 걸려놓에 하지 않고 있는 것이 문제입니다. 여기서 우리가 스쳐 지날 수 없는 또 하나의 심각한 문제점은 우리의 생활 감정과는 전혀 맞지 않는 불건전하고 라티한 생활 세태들, 지요 그들 자신도 익숙되지 못한 외식 외풍을 남이 시키는 대로 흉내내느라 모지름을 쓰는 가련한 저 신랑 신부들이 하나와 같이 당의 품속에서 대학까지 나오고 중요한 소소들에서 일하고 있는 청년들이라는 것입니다. 자기들을 품들여 키워주고 내세워준 당과 조국의 믿음에 천만분의 일이나마 보답하지는 못할 망정 심통이도 당에서 하지 말라고 하는 짓만 골라가며 해대고 있으니 과연 저런 인간들이 준엄한 시련의 시기에 당과 조국의 운덕을 저버리지 않는다고 누가 장담할 수 있겠습니까? 그들대로 지난 시기 불순독화물을 몰래 시청하는 과정이 남녀 간의 진정한 륜의 분위기는 외국산 술이나 포도주쯤은 마셔야 제대로 선다는 집단의 기준을 세웠는지 이 처녀의 손목에는 무려 4개에 달하는 금속 팔찌가 끼어져 있는가 하면 양쪽 귀에는 귀걸이가 2개씩이나 달려 있습니다. 전의 당에서는 이러한 행태들이 음식이 아니라는 데 대해 명백히 지적해 주었으며 전 사회적으로 이러한 현상을 없애기 위한 투쟁도 강도 높이 돌렸습니다. 과연 이러한 어른들이 우리 대세대 청년들의 지향의 요구지에 부합되는가 하는 것입니다. 친구 리진양이가 자기의 이름을 괴리 말투를 그대로 본따서 이진향이라고 써갈겼으나 정리장을 보란 듯이 들고 집회 사진까지 남기는 등 보는 사람들의 경락을 자아내는 썰기 빠진 짓도 서슴지 않았던 것입니다. 그러면 이러한 망동을 즉흥적인 흥분에 의한 실수라고 봐야겠습니까?
I'm not quite sure how much North Korean language you understood, but there are very important areas the regime is taking. The first one is there is a different way of calling family name between North and South. For instance, in South Korea, the family name in North Korea it is called Ri, and in South Korea the family name called No. In North Korea, it is called Ro. So there are very clear different way of calling its name. But now inside North Korea, even though the registration paper of North Korean young generations whose family name is Ri, they all call themselves not Ri, but I. So even in wedding ceremony, when you write a kind of, how can I say, promise note, the young generation writes not Ri, but Lee Jin-hyang. So that's why, this film is, criticizing why you are even changing your family name. And you can see young generations in North Korea, they are embracing in front of the entrance of apartments. The video is criticizing not the young generations who are embracing in front of apartments, but the film is criticizing the older generations living in that apartment. Why the old generations are silent, in watching these young, generations, kissing each other or embracing each other. So there are new, wave of generations. So So that is one of the reasons why Kim Jong-un, started to raise these things all of a sudden, on the table. Before Kim Jong-un raised these issues, of course, many young generations watched the South Korean waves, the dramas and movies, but it is Kim Jong-un who ordered to make a lot of, the laws to punish uh, these the new arrival of the Hallyu. So army generals, and this is the photos of young female high school students who were captured and the cuffed and sent to prisons. And recently in North Korean TVs or in North Korean party meetings, these kind of videos are widely shown in order to warn North Korean public. So that is one of the reasons from the last year, Kim Jong-un all of a sudden that no more reunification talk, no more say about we are one nation. North Korea revised this constitution that two Koreas should stay, two nation and to the state. So there is a great pessimism inside North and South whether reunification is possible or not. But quite recently, the German, the media wrote a very interesting article about recent North Korea's wave. In that article, the German newspaper said that that is the same format happened in Germany. In 1974, then East Germany revised its constitution to delete the words of unification, one nation, and East Germany stated that two Germans must stay two states. That kind of revision of constitution happened in 1974 in Germany. But 15 years after that revision of constitution, the Berlin Wall collapsed. So the German media said that now it is the time for South Korea and North Korea to have optimism, not pessimism, for the new start of reunification process, not two states. So that is my brief introduction about the recent changes inside North Korea. Thank you. First of all, I think Kim Jong-un is in great need of foreign currency. You know that in the last summer, North Korea suffered a lot. And Kim Jong-un promised a couple of times to his population that he would give a happy life to North Korea, but because of this, the heavy investments on missile and technology, now North Korean economy is in great difficulty. North Korean people's living standards are even more worsened. So that's why I think by sending these troops to Ukraine, North Korea, Kim Jong regime can get hard currency from Ukraine. And second is advanced military technology. For instance, this year alone, Kim Jong-un promised that he would make great success in spy satellite. He would launch a nuclear submarine of all those promises to North Korean people. But so far, he hasn't made any breakthrough in satellite launches, nuclear submarines, and the other military technology development. So now I think Kim Jong-un regime would ask Russia to deliver these kind of high techs in return for North Korean soldiers and also rockets and ammunitions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. like to take the first question today from a student, if I can. Okay, go ahead, sir. Please identify yourself and keep your questions short.
First of all, sir, thank you for coming here today. My name is Ryan. I'm a student at Georgetown University. The idea of opening up North Korean local economies, put pressure on the government sounds like a good idea. But is there any emulate the Chinese model of socialist capitalism to modernize their economy and thereby become a stronger, resilient socialist economy? And what would the South Korean government do in response to this?
There is a great difference so far between our Chinese economic policy and that of North Korea. Chinese style of economic, the policy was top-down ones. Chinese Communist Party introduced first of all the capitalist, the way of thinking, laws, and sent out all instructions to make a reform of the whole China. But if past 20 years of capitalist markets in North Korea, it was always bottom up, the development. So why North Korea, took this kind of bottom up the capitalist development? That is because Kim Jong-un regime knows very well that once the capitalism is really strongly rooted inside North Korea, then their political control and that political structure of dynasty cannot be in place. So that is why, even though they are failing, but they continue to restore the control of the economy as so-called socialist, planned economy. So under these circumstances, what can you do? I don't see any kind of, recent, the policy input for that, because North Korea is totally isolating itself, not only from South Korea, but also from China as well. Kim Jong-un regime now started to landmine all the borderlines and start to build wires along China and North Korean border. And even though Xi Jinping built a good bridge to connect these two economies between North and South China, but even Kim Jong-un is not ready to open and connect its highway to that new bridge in Amnokgang River. So I don't think that we can do anything to further improve this so that capitalists, the markets. I think it should leave to North Korean population to further develop this process.
Thank you very much. I'll take the next question right here.
Hi, my name is Sejin Baek from here studying international affairs. You mentioned that not only the North and South Korea, but also the international community should promote the unification based on the value of freedom. And I want to ask, like, as of now, the R2P responsibility to protect has been a controversial factor in a sense that, like, somebody thinks it's invading each state or nation's sovereignty and like their power to control their people. And I kind of agree with this. So I want to ask, like, how exactly the international community should participated in promoting the unification based on the value of freedom.
What I want to tell my, organizations and the people who are working with me, what we are doing is that in order to raise the awareness of North Korean people, I pay a lot of attention on internet and Facebook or Instagrams as well. As I've told you now, North Korean population are already, addicted to cell phones. So now there are around 50 or 100,000 North Korean labor forces or, the officials worldwide in China or Russia. As soon as they got out of North Korea, the first thing they buy is cell phones. And once they buy their cell phones, they started to read South Korean internet. So now in the past, although there are, tens of thousands of North Koreans worldwide, but they didn't have
cell phones. So there is no way for us to reach their minds. But since now they have cell phones, so that we can, actually, we do not meet each other, but we can all actually communicate through cell phones who are already outside of North Korea. So many, North Korean defectors now in South Korea are doing YouTubes. They tell what's their life in South Korea. There was a recent defection, of North Korean diplomats in Cuba. And when he arrived in South Korea, the journalist asked what he had seen during his days in North Korean embassy in Cuba. He told the media that he every day watched my YouTube. Yes. So he imagined that he went before arrival to South Korea. He always imagined that whether he go to South Korea, he could live a similar life like me. So many North Koreans outside of North Korea, even though they are still belong to North Korean system, all of them, they are watching South Korean, the dramas, the YouTubes or contents made by defectors. And these people would go back to North Korea in 3 days. There are 3 or 4 years routine. So new people would come out, old ones go in. New people will come out and old ones go in. So I'm sure this kind of, circle of routine could give new, I think, knowledges of North Korean people to about outside world.
Thank you very much. I'll take the next question from over here. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Emmy Seeley. I am a GW student here, and based on your presentation, my understanding is at this point, South Korea's policy is North Korea at some point will collapse, and that's when reunification will be possible. I'm kind of wondering what can be done to maybe mitigate the struggles of North Korean people before that. Like, are people, is South Korea basically saying that struggle in North Korea for North Koreans is inevitable and then reunification will happen?
Oh, I think, what I said is that does not mean that revolution will take place tomorrow. It will take a long process. For instance, now this is the matter, between generations. For instance, I was born in 1962. So, and my colleagues now in North Korea, they are now in minister or vice minister level. For instance, the current foreign minister, North Korean foreign minister Choi Sun-hee, she is my classmate. So the current North Korean leadership now is controlled by the people who were born in later 40s or in 50s and 60s. The ministerial level or vice ministerial level, there are only one of you from 1960s, but generally 1950s are controlling the North Korean leadership. The difference between this old generation and young generation is that the old generation, like my age, we have seen the peak of North Korean the system. So they still have a kind of nostalgia. Something like, oh, sometimes, the North Korean system worked in the past. But young generations, they are different. They haven't seen the peak of North Korean welfare system, to be honest. For instance, in North Korea, in apartments, every house, in every apartment's house, in toilets or kitchens, they have 2 taps. But I never imagined why we had 2 taps in apartments. But all of a sudden, one day, my son asked, Daddy, why there are 2 taps in the toilets and kitchen? I said, one tap is for hot water and one tap is for cold water. And I said, why do you ask? And my son said, I've never seen hot water coming from that tap in his life. That is true. But so far, all North Korean apartments, even now, are built with 2 taps because that is the law and regulation. But young generation never saw, that tap was working. So that is a great difference. North Korea's all textbooks are based on the reality of 1970s. In North Korea, they say that North Korea is free medical care, free education, whatever. But now current North Korean young generations, even in 30s, they haven't seen that kind of free education or free medical system. So when they read these textbooks, they all think that the textbooks is fake and lie. So that is great difference between generations. And what I imagine that in the coming 10 years, I think those old guys have to retire, because of biological change. And there must be a new change of leadership. Now, Kim Jong-un is 42, but Kim Jong-un is the only guy in North Korean leadership in 40s. The people around him are all either late 60s or 70s, or if the youngest are, the 60s. So, but in the coming 10 years, I'm sure that those who were born in 70s or 80s would enter to the leadership, old guys leave. And in the coming 15 years, I think the Kim Jong-un similar young generation would occupy all the important posts of North Korean the leadership. I think that is the time when we can see the exact, the start of the change of North Korean system. But now it's too early.
Thank you very much. I'll take a question from the middle here. Yes, go ahead. Yes, you.
Good morning. My name is Mary Black. I am an Asian Studies student at Georgetown University. My understanding is that China has an interest in maintaining the status quo of a divided Korea because North Korea acts as a buffer state. What does the South Korean administration anticipate as far as a reaction or pressure from China, and what, if so, can the administration do to address it? Thank you.
I think that's a good question. I think there must be a grand bargain on the issue of Korea unification, not only between Korea but China, but also between United States and China as well. What China is worrying or is afraid of is that the American troops, advancements to the northern part of Korean Peninsula, because China does not want face-to-face, situation between Chinese troops and American troops. That is what actually happened during the process of German reunification. At that time, Soviet Union, asked United States to give a promise not to advance their troops to East Germany if Soviet Union withdrew troops from East Germany, and America gave that promise to Soviet Union. That's why how the German reunification was possible. So I think that at least America or South Korea can guarantee to China that even though Korea is reunified, American troops would not go further beyond to current, the ceasefire, the military demarcation line. America, South Korea would leave North Korea as a kind of, a free zone from American troops, so that unified Korea would not pose any threat to China. The second thing that I think we should continue to tell China about the possible economic benefits China could get from reunified Korea. For instance, when I was in North Korean Foreign Ministry, China continued to ask to open Two-Man River to China. Now, the Two-Man River is the river which connects Russia, China, and North Korea together. China wants to make a big sea harbor in that Two-Man River, so that 3 provinces of Northeast China could go very easily to Pacific through that river. But North Korea refused to open that river. So actually, unified Korea, can be connected by big, the highway, high-speed train with the Northeast, the China, so that, it can actually help the Chinese dream of, I think, development of Northeast Asia. So we should continue to tell Chinese side about the beneficial, aspects of unified Korea.
Unfortunately, we only have time for one more question. So
Hello, my name is Hyewon Chun. I'm with the UCDC program from UCLA. And as you know, Kim Jong-un studied in Switzerland, and he probably knows what happened in East Germany. He knows what's going on with the younger generation right now. What steps do you think he'll take to prevent this from happening?
Oh, I think, to my impression, Kim Jong-un studied and followed very detailed part of East Germany. One of the reason of that possible of German reunification was that all East Germans at that time watched West Germans TV. They raised the antennas high, so that led the final collapse of Berlin Wall. So I think in the future, Kim Jong-un would more strengthen its tie on the cultural contents of South Korea. He would try to cut off any possible relations between North and South the Korea, and also he wants to raise the stake of North Korea's nuclear possessment. For instance, when Kim Jong-un announced that the success of nuclear development in April of 2018, just 1 week before the Panmunjom incident, Kim Jong-un said that North Korea, because of these nuclear weapons, North Korea has now reached the status of strategic state. So at that time, world didn't understand what does that mean. Why Kim Jong-un said that now North Korea could be a game changer in world politics and situations. Now we can see definitely. Now Kim Jong-un can send his troops to Ukraine war, one of the best troops to Ukraine war. How North Korea can withdraw its troops from North Korean territory far away to Ukraine, because North Korea has nuclear weapons. So actually, with that nuclear buttons on his table, Kim Jong-un's flexibility of using his military forces, he can send his forces anywhere to the world. So actually, this possession of nuclear weapons gave great flexibility of Kim Jong-un's the military movement. So I think it's time for the world to join and strengthening, and we should find out the new mechanism to further sanction North Korean, the economy. If Kim Jong-un gets a lot of hard currency from Russia by sending its troops to Ukraine war, maybe in the later stage, he would boast to North Korean people, hey guys, look at, because of these nuclear weapons, I can send North Korea's conventional troops to Ukraine war. In return, I can get this amount of money, so that, nuclear weapons they can not only serve for the military purpose, but economic as well. So I think we have to try in unity to frustrate his strategy.
So it is my great regret that we have to cut off the discussion here, and I really appreciate your attendance and your great questions. For the speaker, I think he's given us a great sense of the high stakes of the North Korean situation, but also the important role that the North Korean people play in the future of the Korean Peninsula. And so please join me in thanking our speaker today, and thank you.